how excited are you about a foldable phone and the rest of this lineup?
Well, the most, eye-popping part about this is the price point for that foldable phone. This is going to be the first mass-market folding phone we've seen, and the price is about $2,000. It's $1,980, which would make it the absolute most expensive name-brand phone on the market.
So, talk to us about what specifically you see will be a real competitor to Apple here.
I think on the hardware side, what Samsung is coming out with is quite impressive. For the flagship models, aside from the foldable, it's 4 devices. There's one 5G device at the high end, which means Samsung is going to be at about a year-and-a-half advantage over Apple in 5G, based on our reporting. Also a low-end phone, the S10e, to take on the iPhone XR. It actually looks similar to the XR, and some of the advancements they have in the camera space seem pretty impressive as well. But I've had a chance to use some of the phones in recent days, and while the hardware seems ahead of Apple at least 1 to 2 years in terms of some of the camera technology, 3D sensing, and of course 5G, I still think Apple's ahead on the software side and the services integration.
Right, and you've reported that Apple isn't working on 5G, at least this year, but maybe it'll come next year. We don't know. Do you think that 5G capability will really be a draw for consumers this year?
I think so, in terms of the marketing prowess and pushes we're seeing from companies like Verizon and AT&T. Will there be enough people this year in the U.S. to take advantage of 5G? It's not clear, but at least by the first half of 2020, 5G is going to be in a lot of markets across the U.S. The problem for Apple is that the company usually releases its new phones around September, October, and November of every calendar year. So unless Apple pushes their iPhone release up in 2020 or comes out with a specialized 5G version earlier in the year, they're going to be at least 6 months or so behind on 5G.
All right, Bloomberg Tech's Mark Gurman for us at the Samsung Unpacked event. Thanks so much, Mark, for that update. I want to stick with Samsung and bring in John Butler of Bloomberg Intelligence. John, would you agree with what Mark had to say there in terms of his evaluation of these new products?
Yeah, I think the new products look terrific, Emily. I really was surprised at the quality of the screens, the fingerprint technology, all that I think makes Samsung very competitive. I think the one thing to keep in mind here, though, is that they're really not competing with Apple with these phones, in my view, as much as they're competing with sort of these rising Chinese vendors that have very, very good devices at really low price points.
So what do you think will convince consumers to upgrade? I mean, we know in general that the smartphone market is slowing. What do these products offer that prior phones don't? Phones are lasting longer. People just don't need to upgrade. So why do it?
I think that's a problem that we're going to live with for a while in this industry. And you can see it reflected in the shipment decline we saw this year, with roughly a 4 to 5% decline in the market in 2018. I think the next big push to upgrade is likely to be 5G. I think the foldable phone introduced by Samsung today is a move in the right direction, but I'm not sure it quite gets them there in terms of sparking upgrade activity.
So how does this position Samsung to compete with the Chinese handset makers, which are offering, often at cheaper prices, half price or even less, phones that some would say work just as well?
Well, I mean, Samsung right now has been almost literally pushed out of the Chinese market by these vendors. So Xiaomi is on that list, Huawei, Vivo, Oppo, all with great devices. But I think as you look more broadly across the world, there's a lot of buying behavior aimed at buying good quality devices with really good displays. I think the display is becoming more and more important as video traffic grows as a percent of the total mobile traffic out there. People really are migrating to video, and I think Samsung has an edge there with its displays.
So how might you expect the market share chart, the global smartphone market share chart, to look different at the end of this year than, say, it does right now?
So Samsung, that's a great question. Samsung's share has been roughly flat for the past couple of years. And I think on the strength of this upgrade cycle, the introduction of the 10e, which is the lower price Galaxy, The foldable phone, I imagine you'll see their share trend up just a little bit. I suspect Apple's going to be stable to maybe down a little bit, depending on what we see in September. And then with the Chinese vendors, sort of steady as she goes.